True leadership begins when comfort ends rise in the chaos, not the calm. It's easy to look like a leader when everything is going your way. When the road is smooth, the sun is shining, and everybody is nodding their head, following your every move. That's not where leadership is tested. That's not where the real ones are made. Leadership is proven in the storm, when you're getting hit from every angle, when confusion surrounds you, when people are looking for someone to guide them through the fire, not around it. That's when you find out who's a leader and who is just playing the part. See, anybody can smile when things are sweet. Anybody can give instructions when they're on top. But when the pressure hits, when the resources dry up, when the clock's ticking and you've got people depending on you, that's when you either crumble or you rise. Leadership isn't about convenience. It's not about stepping up when you feel good or when you've had your coffee. It's about stepping up when you're exhausted, when you're doubting yourself, when everything in you wants to retreat, but you show up anyway, because comfort is not your priority, purpose is. You think greatness is born in the easy moments. Nah, greatness is born in the dirt, in the struggle, in the places where most people check out. That's where leaders are forged. It's in the chaos when the lights go off, when the plan falls apart, when the crowd gets quiet. That's where the real ones keep moving. Not because it feels good, but because they understand this. Leaders are not called to react to the environment. They are called to influence it. The chaos is not your enemy. The discomfort is not a curse. It's the classroom. It's the place where your potential gets pushed beyond the surface. It's the gym where your leadership muscles are torn and rebuilt. But only if you embrace it. Only if you stop running from it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop hoping for the ideal scenario. If you're waiting for everything to line up before you take action, you'll never lead. Leadership begins the moment you decide to move forward, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You want the secret to leading when it's tough. Embrace the mess. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Stand tall when the floor shakes beneath you, because leadership is not about comfort, it's about conviction. It's not about ease, it's about endurance. It's not about leading in peace, it's about leading through the war. When everybody else is frozen in fear, you have to be the one who says, "Follow me, I don't have all the answers, but I'm not backing down." That's what separates the great from the average. That's what sets apart those who influence the world from those who only survive it. The calm does not reveal the leader in you, the chaos does. You learn more about your character, your discipline, and your commitment in the dark than you ever will in the light. When there are no shortcuts, no applause, no guarantees, and yet you still show up, that's leadership. Not leading with comfort, but leading with courage. Not leading for attention, but leading with intention. So the next time you find yourself in the middle of the storm, don't run, don't panic, don't fold. Recognize the moment for what it is, an opportunity to grow, to stretch, to prove to yourself that you're not just here to look the part. You're here to live it. Because the real ones, they don't wait for comfort. They rise in the chaos. They lead when it's hard. They show up when it matters most. You don't need a title to lead, just the courage to keep moving when it hurts. Leadership isn't something you earn with a promotion, a corner office, or a fancy nameplate on your desk. It's not reserved for CEO, captains, or people with authority stamped beside their name. Leadership is earned in the trenches, in the grind, in those silent, unseen battles where most people give up. It's not about where you sit, it's about what you do when things get heavy, when life throws punches, and when your soul is tired, but your purpose is louder than your pain. The truth is, people don't follow titles, they follow effort, they follow authenticity, they follow resilience. You can have no followers on social media, no spotlight on your face, no validation from the crowd, and still be leading powerfully, because real leadership begins with a decision, not a designation. It's the decision to rise when others sink. It's the decision to keep pushing when the road ahead is filled with obstacles. It's choosing to move forward even when your legs are shaking and your heart is breaking. That's leadership. The world has enough bosses, enough people barking orders, pointing fingers, sitting back in comfort. What the world needs is people who are willing to lead from the front even when it costs them everything. People who bleed, but still build. People who cry, but still climb. People who are hurting on the inside, but healing others through their strength and example. You don't lead because life is easy, you lead because the mission is bigger than the pain. You lead because somebody has to show the way through the darkness. Somebody has to be the one who refuses to quit, even when quitting is the easiest option. Every time you keep moving despite your wounds, you're leading. Every time you encourage others while you're secretly struggling, you're leading. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, perseverance over pity, and faith over fear, you're leading. The courage to keep moving when it hurts is the loudest form of leadership, because it speaks through actions, not words. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need approval. It's quiet. It's gritty. It's real. You think courage is the absence of fear. No, it's the decision to keep moving through fear, to lead without a script, without a safety net, without knowing how it's all going to turn out, but moving anyway. That's leadership. That's what people remember. That's what changes lives. Not the perfect speeches or the flawless strategies, but the example you set when everything in you wanted to stop and you chose to take one more step. So many people are waiting for permission to lead, waiting for someone to give them authority, waiting for the right conditions, the right team, the right moment. But leadership doesn't wait. It acts. It chooses courage in the face of discomfort. It chooses integrity when compromise would be easier. And it keeps walking, not because the path is clear, but because the purpose is real. This world is hurting. People are battling silent wars. They don't need more noise. They need examples. They need to see someone who's been through the fire and kept walking. Someone who didn't wait for a position, but stepped up because they saw the need. That kind of leadership doesn't come from a boardroom. It comes from the heart. It comes from pain turned into purpose, from struggle turned into strength, from fear turned into fire. So the next time you find yourself thinking you're not qualified to lead, remember it's not about your title. It's about your tenacity. It's about your willingness to press forward even when you're bleeding, to rise even when you're broken, to lead not because you have to, but because you're called to. Pressure doesn't break leaders, it builds the ones who refuse to fold. When the weight of the world is sitting on your shoulders and everything seems to be collapsing, that's when real leadership is revealed. It's not about how loud you are when things are going right. It's about how strong you stay when everything is going wrong. Pressure isn't the enemy, it's the mirror that shows you who you really are. It's the heat that forges the iron. It's the storm that reveals the strength of your foundation. You don't find out who a leader is when life is soft and simple. You find out when the fire's raging and there's no place to hide. Most people run from pressure. Most people want comfort, predictability, ease. But if you want to lead, you can't avoid the pressure. You have to lean into it. You have to understand that every ounce of pressure you feel is shaping you, testing you, stretching you, and preparing you for something greater. It's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to develop you. The pressure that others fear is the very thing that creates the unbreakable mindset of a leader. Diamonds aren't made in silence and safety. They're created under crushing pressure and extreme heat. So if you feel pressure, that's not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you're being prepared for something bigger than you can see. See, the difference between the ones who lead and the ones who fold is not that the leaders don't feel pressure, it's that they don't run from it. They don't complain about it. They don't beg for it to go away. They face it and they keep moving through it. They let it shape their character. They let it sharpen their vision. They let it strip away every excuse, every weakness, every comfort zone. Pressure forces you to grow or go, and leaders choose growth every time, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. You have to stop asking for less pressure and start developing the strength to carry more. Leadership is not about avoiding pain, it's about learning how to rise through it. When you feel the weight, when your back is against the wall, when your name is being tested and your dreams are being pushed to the limit, that's when you decide what kind of leader you're going to be. Not the kind that talks, but the kind that walks through the storm with discipline and grit. Pressure doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your schedule. It shows up and demands that you respond, and how you respond determines everything. Don't curse the pressure. Use it. Use it to build your mental toughness. Use it to strengthen your focus. Use it to fuel your discipline. The ones who rise to the top didn't get there because life was easy. They got there because they learned to carry the weight and still move forward. They got knocked down, but pressure didn't crush them, it crafted them. It made them leaders others could lean on. It made them warriors when everyone else was looking for an exit. If you're feeling pressure right now, you're not in the wrong place, you're in the right process. You're being forged, you're being built, and every second you endure is proof that you're not average, you're not ordinary, you're not built to break, you're built to lead, so don't back down, don't fold. Don't let pressure silence your purpose. Let it sharpen you, let it lift you. Let it turn you into the kind of leader who doesn't wait for perfect conditions, the kind who leads under pressure and makes it look like purpose. If you want to lead, you gotta serve first even when no one's watching. Leadership isn't about standing at the top and telling people what to do. It's not about being the loudest in the room or having the final say. Real leadership starts in the shadows. It begins in the grind behind the scenes where your name isn't being called, where your work goes unnoticed, and where your only motivation is the mission, not the recognition. If you can't serve, you're not ready to lead, because serving teaches you humility. It teaches you patience. It teaches you how to put others before yourself, how to sacrifice, how to stay consistent when the spotlight isn't on you. Everybody wants to lead when it means power, but not many want to lead when it means pouring into others, lifting them up when they're low, or standing in the gap when things go wrong. Serving first means you're willing to get your hands dirty. It means you're not too big to pick up the smallest task. It means you care more about the people you lead than the applause you receive, and when no one's watching, that's when it matters most. Because anyone can perform when the crowd is watching. Anyone can act motivated when there's attention and rewards. But true leaders don't need the cameras, they lead in the silence. They serve in the background, and they do it because they believe in the vision. Some of the greatest leaders you'll ever meet are the ones who have mastered the art of serving. They've worked at every level. They've carried the weight others refused to touch. They've walked through the valley before they ever stood on the mountain. Because before you can direct others, you need to understand what they're going through. Before you can guide a team, you need to know what it feels like to be a part of one. Leadership without service is hollow. It's all talk and no depth. But when you serve first, you build the kind of credibility and trust that no title could ever buy. Serving doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're strong enough to put your ego aside. It means you don't need to be in control to have an impact. It means you can elevate others and still stand tall. The ones who serve with heart, who give their best when nobody's clapping, who stay late and show up early, not for praise but for purpose, those are the leaders people follow with loyalty and passion. Because those leaders aren't just talking about the work, they're doing it, they're living it. You want to build something real, start by serving something bigger than yourself. Serve the mission, serve the people beside you. Serve your community, and do it with everything you've got, even if no one ever thanks you. Because leadership isn't about rewards, it's about responsibility. It's about understanding that the higher you climb, the more people you're called to lift. And if you don't have the heart to serve, you don't have the strength to lead. Greatness doesn't start at the front of the line, it starts at the back, where the work is heavy and the credit is rare. Leadership earned through service is leadership that lasts. It's leadership rooted in character, not charisma. It's leadership that doesn't need validation to stand firm, because when you've spent time serving, you understand what it costs. You respect the grind. You carry the weight not because it's easy, but because you've been built for it through every unseen act of service. That's the kind of leadership that inspires people, not because you demand it, but because you've proven it. Because you've led from the ground up, not from a pedestal, but from the heart. Your consistency in adversity is louder than any speech you'll ever give. Words can move people for a moment, but actions built on consistency leave an impression that lasts forever. It's easy to talk about perseverance, discipline, and sacrifice when life is smooth and the sun is shining. But when adversity comes crashing in, when the pressure's heavy, the room is quiet, and nobody is cheering you on, that's where real leadership is revealed. And not through what you say, but through what you keep doing, over and over, day after day, when it hurts, when it's hard, when nothing seems to be working. That's what people pay attention to. That's what they remember. See, inspiration doesn't always come from a stage. It comes from watching someone stay focused when everything around them is chaotic. It comes from watching someone show up when they have every excuse not to. It comes from watching a person carry the weight with grace and grit, even when no one acknowledges the load. Consistency is the language of leadership, and when you stay locked in during adversity, you're speaking volumes to the people around you. They may not say it out loud, but they're watching, they're learning, they're being changed by your example. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't get headlines. It doesn't go viral. But it builds something stronger than hype. It builds trust. It builds legacy. When your words say, "I'm committed," but your actions prove it through sleepless nights, setbacks, and silent seasons, you're leading in a way that no motivational quote ever could. You're showing people what it really means to walk with purpose. You're showing them that discipline isn't about emotion, it's about decision. It's about doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. Anybody can be on fire for a day. Anybody can sprint when the race just started. But consistency, that's endurance. That's getting up on the 100th day with the same energy you had on the first, even when no results are visible. That's showing up broken, tired, doubting, and still choosing to move forward. And when adversity hits, most people fold, most people retreat, but not leaders. Leaders understand that adversity is part of the assignment. It's not a detour, it's the process. It's the testing ground that separates talkers from walkers. When you remain consistent in adversity, you're giving permission to others to do the same. You're showing them that storms don't stop purpose, that pressure doesn't cancel destiny, that pain doesn't eliminate responsibility. You become living proof that resilience works, that faith with action multiplies impact, that greatness is not just built on ability, it's built on commitment, repeated over time in the most difficult moments. People don't follow perfection, they follow persistence. They don't need a flawless leader, they need a faithful one, someone who keeps showing up, someone who keeps pressing forward. Someone who stands when it's easier to sit, who speaks truth when silence would be safer, who gives their all when it would be easier to coast. That kind of consistency speaks louder than the loudest voice in the room. Because it's real, it's raw, it's tested. So when adversity hits, and it will lean into it with consistency, not perfection, not performance, just relentless, daily movement in the direction of your purpose. No matter how small the steps are, no matter how invisible the results feel, no matter how many people overlook the effort, because leadership isn't defined by what you do once, it's defined by what you keep doing when it's hardest to continue. When the lights go out and you're still grinding, when the emotions fade and you're still working, when the applause stops and you're still committed, that's what makes your consistency roar louder than any speech ever could. Tough times reveal what kind of leader you really are, not who you pretend to be. When everything's falling apart, when the pressure is on and the stakes are high, the mask comes off. You can't fake strength when the fire is real. You can't fake discipline when the obstacles are relentless. You can't fake character when adversity knocks on your door at 4 a.m. and asks, "Are you still about that life?" That's when leadership gets real. Not in your comfort, not in your convenience, but in your crisis. The tough times don't create leaders, they expose them. They expose whether you're built for the moment or just built a persona. Everybody looks like a leader when they're winning. When the money's flowing, when the team's vibing, when the vision is clear and everything is going according to plan. But leadership isn't tested on the mountaintop, it's tested in the valley. When doubt shows up. When betrayal hits, when progress is slow, when people walk away and the weight lands squarely on your shoulders, that's when your habits show. That's when your mindset is revealed. That's when the world finds out whether you were leading out of passion or performance, out of purpose or pretense. You don't learn who you are in the mirror, you learn it in the fire, in the moments that challenge your identity, in the seasons that feel like silence, when nothing is working and the voice in your head is asking you to quit. That's when leaders rise, not because they feel strong, but because they refuse to be defined by the situation. They understand that storms don't last, but how you respond in them leaves a legacy. The fake will fold. The real will rise, because the real understand this leadership is not about how you feel, it's about what you decide, day in, day out. Tough times are where integrity either grows roots or gets exposed. You can't claim to be resilient if you've never been tested. You can't preach perseverance if you've never walked through pain. Leadership isn't built on words, it's built on wounds that healed. It's built on moments that tried to break you but didn't. It's built on showing up again and again when the reward isn't there yet, when the team is discouraged, when everything feels uncertain, but you still stand firm. That's what makes people follow you. Not your confidence, but your consistency. Not your speeches, but your scars. When it's tough, when it's lonely, when you feel like the world forgot you, that's when your foundation is either confirmed or cracked. And if you've been building on hype, on applause, on external validation, the storm will shake you. But if you've been building on faith, on discipline, on purpose, then no matter how hard it gets, you keep standing. You keep serving, you keep leading, not because it's fun, but because it's who you are. Because leadership is not something you do, it's something you live, something you breathe, something you become through every hard moment that didn't break you. People don't need perfect leaders, they need proven ones. They need to see that you've been through something and you didn't just survive it, you led through it. You didn't hide your pain, you used it to fuel your purpose. You didn't let failure silence you, you let it shape you. That's what earns trust, that's what earns respect. Not how you show up when it's easy, but how you lead when everything in you wants to walk away. Because when times get tough, the truth shows up. And if you've been real from the start, you don't need to change, you just need to keep going. That's how the toughest seasons become your greatest testimony. That's how tough times separate the temporary from the timeless.